Good day, my name's Graham. I want to have a little review and look at Australia's energy crisis that has been created by the Liberal Party and Labour Party colluding to disintegrate ownership of the grid from the public to a private enterprise, which then the public needs to pay off the debt for. It's as simple as that. Clive Palmer has explained that. It's nothing about climate change. The high price of electricity has nothing to do whatsoever with climate change. And if climate change is something that affects all people, then why is it only poor people are being sacrificed through their power bills and all the other costs that go on cost because of rising energy costs? Shop owners have greater rents to pay because of higher energy costs, etc. Schools, hospitals, everything pays higher energy costs, therefore there's greater debt to the public purse and the private purse due to the higher energy costs. And then the rich get richer out of climate change policy and the poor get poorer. That's the policy of the ALP and Liberals in this charade and masquerade Australia's involved with, pretending it's doing something about climate, obeying foreign finance entities like GetUp. Liberals and Labour Party actually appear to be beholden to people like GetUp, who are foreign financed by the likes of George Soros, who's trying to do all he can to undermine the West. But let's talk about sensible and what can we say, what could be positive in regards to restoring Australia's energy security and doing something about energy prices. One thing, without competition you don't have any sort of market forces to bring down prices. The market forces are all being manipulated by politicians to raise up the prices. In other words, they've destroyed any idea of a free market economy by messing around with the price of energy, by messing around and inflating the price of energy. You no longer can design a forward estimated economic future, because it's all in jeopardy now because of the ever rising cost of energy, which the left, the Saudi finance left, and eclectic pack of spivs what's on the Liberal Party, neither can get together and do the positive thing on Australia's energy, because they've caused a jeopardy by forcing the refineries to go offshore by lifting the price of energy, making it unprofitable, and endangering the safety of the refinery by risking the fact there may be blackouts due to the input of wind and solar, which are unreliable. Now there is a way and remedy to this, and Australia needs to consider the remedy, which how far I can elaborate on it today is limited by the time I have a video. But what I'm suggesting is we forget anything. The GetUp should have it's playing espionage with the Australian economy. Let's make no bones about this. These people are playing involved with espionage against the Australian economy. That's what this left is all about. The left is about destroying the Australian economy. It's not about building it and creating more production so that it can be distributed. It's limiting the amount of currency that can be distributed by forcing the price of energy. It's that simple to understand. And then the price of rents are up, so therefore there's two extreme negatives that will affect the economy for years to come. Now when it comes to energy though, so it's an urgent matter when a country no longer refines its own fuels. What I'm suggesting this is that Australia creates in each state, it creates a new coal-fired power station that biosequestrates, that is, it puts all the CO2 through giant growing sheds. It produces its own water by taking water out of the air, and you can look that up on the net, and you can find you can take thousands of litres of water out of the air per night time, providing you know the humidity index in the area. You know how much water you can take out of the air. So you combine the water and the CO2 taken from the furnaces, which is a coal-fired furnace energy producer is a furnace. you put that through a giant growing shed, it doesn't matter how long they are, and then produce a massive amount of trees, a constant supply of trees that then can be transplanted into the countryside, and then that not only is the behind sequestration of the CO2 as it burns off the plough, the CO2 is released from the coal, that is then taken up into the plants that are grown in the giant growing sheds. You then put these trees, or it could be anything really, but then you can put these trees and shrubs, if you like, into the bush, and then they take further CO2 out of the air as they grow. And that is a sort of a more that's the approach China is taking to dealing with climate change. It's placing plants in the desert to take CO2 out of the air, and we should be in empathy with this intelligent scientific and biological approach to tackling climate change. And it's more economically beneficial when and if the coal-fired plants are totally run by AI and robots, so we eliminate as much as possible HR and human administration. We design these 21st century tech so that we eliminate at all the costs that humans are these days. They're extremely expensive component with any of the infrastructure. And we can eliminate that by applying building these high-tech, modern, with AI and robots to replace humans in administration running most of these plants. Then a refinery, by using you've got a baseload power station that could be owned by a pension fund, a national savings fund, or a super fund, which is worth $2 trillion. The super fund in Australia is worth $2 trillion. So it's got enough money to invest in this situation. Or the people themselves can form a cooperative and invest. But this power station distribution can be within, say, it's a Tamworth area space, for instance, or an area can then be distributed to that area to help then and regulate the prices in that area on a sliding scale, so that the energy cost can be equal for everyone in that area, if you like. So poor people can afford equally the amount of air conditioning as rich people can, and also then you can develop these places as places of economic development by having cheap energy. That's one benefit of it. So therefore, but if you use that supply of energy then to run a refinery in a baseload power, that then run a totally modern refinery that uses as few humans as possible, as a few human administration as possible, eliminate that cost factor of it. So these things are automated processes, and they go for about the next 30 years, when China then will begin to eliminate its coal-fired power stations. So we're in empathy with our major trading power partner that will go to buy our coal for many years to come, regardless of the propaganda of Get Up and all the people who are totally dishonest about this, or being dishonest to try and destroy Western democracy and trying to destroy our way of life, and just through the destruction of ethical and moral principles that these people are all about destroying our fabric of our society. We have to come to terms with this. We have to come to terms. The first thing we have to do is redevelop our energy, base of our energy, so we've got our own energy supply secured way into the future, till we have got in the future then, not only we have planted millions of trees, then we'll grow and grow and grow and take CO2 out of the air. By the time the coal-fired furnace, about 30 years, so that's it's finished, it's got a finite, it's finished, 2050 it's finished, when they stop producing fuel-driven cars, because we'll still need to produce our own fuel for cars, fossil fuel-driven cars, for many years, for a few generations to come yet, because that will not end, because the infrastructure for electric cars is not developed, and the idea of electric cars at the moment is in its infancy, and electric cars will then become, in a few years, will totally evolve, so they will not need charging. You will be able to run perpetually on them, because we know that technology is already available. We just don't know how to produce it into the market, because the disruption that would cause is so massive to have free energy, which is available. It's such a massive disruption to society and the economy itself, governments do not know how to do this, and I'm suggesting we need a very gradual sliding scale system, an evolution, a positive evolutionary and rational system, what takes us through to about 2040, 2050, so we've got a substantial energy supply, we supply our own fuels, and we're building up a capital for pays for pensions and stuff in the future by having a pension fund automatically run these systems, this infrastructure, through AI and robots, so we don't have all the humans involved fleecing the system like they are at the moment. And that's just my suggestion of returning some intelligence, and evolved, insightful intelligence and rationale into the debate about what Australia does about climate change, what it does about energy, and what it does to gradually bring down the cost of energy, because we must bring down the cost of energy if you want to develop the economy and grow a population. You cannot keep increasing the price of energy and rents and bring more people into this country and expect a social disaster in the end, because that's what's being created right now with this ad hoc, lack of intelligence, exclusively laid policies that are only exclusive for the corporations, that are willing to sacrifice all the people and make profit out of a charade that Australia is doing something about climate change when it's doing nothing at all whatsoever in regards to climate change. And I'm suggesting the system I'm suggesting, we grow millions of trees. The system I've suggested is a way to go do something about climate change that's in perpetuity and develops the capital, the real bio-capital, if you like, that are the trees that will be left for the future of this nation to enjoy, rather than suffer the poverty and the terrible crisis that will be caused because of climate change policy as it's run now. The economic and social crisis that will be caused because the social environmental crisis that is being caused because of the climate policy that ALP and the Liberals are involved with, bowing to a foreign entity, foreign finance entity such as GetUp. Bye.